And welcome to a brand new edition of Match Points here on tennismajors.com, where we get together to debate and discuss the biggest topics in tennis. And this issue is a summer edition, all about from Wimbledon through the 2021 Olympic Games and looking ahead, of course, to the U.S. Open. Let's say hello to our panel because it is different for this edition once again. First of all, you know, the 2013 Wimbledon champion and, of course, tennis broadcaster who was a little under the weather recently because of working so hard. You look better, you feel better. There she is, Marion Bartoli. Great to have you back. Simon Cambers, tennis writer, foundation president, of course, contributor to The Guardian, ESPN, and now also to tennismajors.com. There's Simon, who returns with us, and a brand new member to our panel, a French journalist. She's well known amongst the tour, of course. Also the author of the book, The Quest, Novak Djokovic, Decade of Chasing at Roland Garros, came out Unlocking History. Thank you very much for joining us, Carole Bouchard. All right, gang, we're doing this from all over the planet, making do the best we can with technology, so we appreciate everyone's patience, even those that have barking dogs or that are mowing the lawn, where I'm located today in upstate New York. Let's begin by what we learned at Wimbledon and the Olympics regarding Novak Djokovic and his run to the greatest record in tennis. Of course, he joined Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal on the record 20th Grand Slam victory by winning his 6th Wimbledon title in July. But Novak looked a little overwhelmed in his Olympic quest during the semifinal and then clearly during the bronze medal match, where it seemed also that he may not have learned a whole lot from his disqualification at the U.S. Open just last fall. Question: has Novak Djokovic worn himself out even before the U.S. Open has begun? Let's begin with you, Simon.
I think there's a danger that Novak Djokovic has maybe worn himself out a little bit. I mean, it's been a monumental year for him, winning 3 majors in a row and then going for gold at the Olympics. A lot of people weren't sure, he wasn't sure whether he was going to go to the Olympics in the first place. And then to actually, give it everything, go flat out, play mixed as well, he really put everything on the line. And the wheels sort of came off at the end, which is very unusual for Novak. I mean, I would never say that he is not going to go and win the US Open because, of course, he's well capable. He's done it before. He is the best player in the world. But I think there are enough question marks about him now, and maybe more going into the US Open than there would have been going into Wimbledon because of what's happened over the last month or so. I think it's less likely now that he wins the Grand Slam. I mean, think of the calendar year Grand Slam. Think of the pressure that there is on his shoulders to do it. No one's done it since Rod Laver in '69. No one's come this close, let's face it, on the men's side. So there's going to be a lot of pressure internally and externally. And then if the body is struggling a little bit, as he suggested it is, with a few little niggles affecting him, then it's going to be tough. Again, I wouldn't write him off at all. He is the favourite and he deserves to be favourite. But I think there are more question marks than there were.
Carole, if anyone knows the answer, it would probably be you in regard to Novak Djokovic. You know this man. You've written, as we noted earlier. Has he worn himself out? Is it too much right now?
If he hadn't been able to do this Roland Garros, Wimbledon, crazy back-to-back title, winning Belgrade right before Paris, I would agree with Simon saying that's going to be too tough. But he made it. It was so brutal. He made it once. If he's not injured, because we don't really know what happened in Tokyo, if he's not injured, he has basically a month to regroup. I think it's more mentally, as he put too much emotions in winning Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and not failing, but not getting a medal in Tokyo. I think it's more mentally the question, as he put too much effort into it. But at the same time, he was brave enough to try. He didn't skip the games. He got a great time here. So many people and athletes coming to him, taking pictures. I think the energy can maybe, make for the mental tiredness. So, and he's playing for history. And every time he has been playing for history, he's made it. So he took a risk. And I don't think he's going to regret it, but clearly I agree with Simon that he took a risk. But I mean, when you're chasing greatness, you have to take those risks. And if somebody can make it, Novak can make it.
Marion Bartoli, same question. You know the mentality better than any of us. Has Novak Djokovic worn himself out prior to the beginning of this upcoming U.S. Open?
No, I don't think at all. First of all, it will be the major favorite to go and win the US Open. I mean, Rafa is injured. Roger is not going to play much before the US Open. In fact, if he's playing the US Open, there's still a question mark in there. So you have to put him as an overwhelming favorite. Then, of course, Zverev will be the one to probably try to avoid Novak to win the 4 Grand Slam this year. But let's face it, the Olympics for Novak, it's a different story because first of all, it's played best of 3 sets. Second of all, it was such a quick turnaround after winning back-to-back on different surfaces. You know, preparing yourself for clay and then preparing yourself for grass court. Such a tough turnaround. It's 2 different surfaces. You have only 2 weeks to make those changes. Before coronavirus hit, it was 3 weeks, which was a little bit better for the players. And after that, he had to switch surfaces again to go back to hard court, playing a very emotional tournament for him. We all know what happened in Rio. So I think everything combined just get a little bit too much for him, even though it was up quite easily against Sasha in the semifinal, which, you know, I think he just hit a wall at that moment because everything came back right after each match. He had no time to reflect on whatever happened before, no time to reflect on what he has been able to achieve. And at some point, I think he hit the wall because, you know, he's just only human and there is only a certain amount of what a human body can take. And I think for him, that was the point when he really hit the wall. To do not put him as an overwhelmed favorite would be something I won't understand. So for me, he is the overwhelmed favorite. And it's a little bit easier. He has a day off between each matches. He has a time to reflect on each victory. He has a time to regroup for the next one. So I think Grand Slams are playing definitely in the favor of Novak as he is right now in his tennis career. And he's going to go for 21 and be the first one to hit 21 Grand Slams. So I think the motivation will be at the highest, and he has the game for hard court. He has proved it over and over and over again, and I just don't see him not winning the US Open, to be honest.
All right, so let's go back to the Olympics for a second. Let me put you guys on the spot for a tougher question, perhaps. Does anyone have a problem with Novak withdrawing as he did in doubles and leaving his partner, if you will, wondering, why are we not competing for a medal here? Simon, that's not necessarily a ceremonious departure from the Olympics in which you're not playing on behalf of yourself, you're playing on behalf of your nation.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, because Novak is a very patriotic person. You would have thought that he would be pushing everything he could to get a medal for him and his partner. I was a little bit surprised, and I do think that, you know, I know when players say they're injured and they're done, that they feel like they just can't do anything. But I think given the way that he played in his bronze medal match, although he was well beaten in the end, well, not well beaten, but he was beaten, I think he could have played that mixed doubles. I'm sure he could have done. And that does leave a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth, especially for his partner. I mean, you've got to feel for her. She'll probably never have a chance to win another Olympic medal. So it is rough. I mean, you can only take Novak at his word, I suppose, and if he's too injured, he's too injured.
I just didn't understood why he played mixed doubles, because Novak doesn't play that much doubles year long. So, you know, there is other probably doubles specialists in Serbia that could have played with her. So for me, you know, it was already questioning the fight to go to the Olympics. Then, of course, he took the decision to go. And I thought it was enough to play singles, but he must have known better, and probably maybe he wanted to give his mixed doubles partner the chance and the opportunity to go for a medal. But I don't think he probably realized how tough the conditions will be in Tokyo at that period of the year. It's really brutal to be in July, beginning of August in Japan. It's just so humid and so hot. It just takes a toll on the body. And, you know, he said he wanted to postpone the match later during the day. I think physically he was just exhausted. And for Novak to be exhausted after everything he has done, it's very much something we can all understand. But of course, he was then also so close to get a medal in mixed doubles that you can understand also the disappointment from his partner. But I'm sure he would have tried everything he could to get her a medal if he could have stepped on the court and go and play. I'm sure. I don't think he will just say, well, I didn't get the medal in singles, I just want to walk out from it. This is just not Novak. I mean, he's way too kind of a person. He respects the game way too much. He respects his country way too much. Just walk out from a medal possibility without having a proper issue.
Fair enough. Carole, do you have an issue with Novak on the doubles side?
No, I don't, because I remember he tried one year to play the Davis Cup with a tear in his back. He tried another year to play a Davis Cup tie for Serbia with a badly sprained ankle. So when he doesn't want to play for his country, it's that there's an injury. I don't see Novak saying no to play for Serbia. So I think I agree with Marion. He was just completely cooked. I think he saw maybe the risk he would be taking by playing despite the fatigue. He's not 20 years old anymore. I mean, I think we're forgetting that he's 34. I mean, he can't play with his body like this. He knows himself so well. For him to say, I can't play for my country, I'm sure physically he wasn't able to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to our next question, and on staying with the big three, to Rafa Nadal, returning to the tour after almost 2 months out because of the foot injury. But in Washington, he won only one match and said that he still had some pain in that foot. Question, is Rafa out of the race now to win a 21st Grand Slam title? Let's begin with you, Carole.
Well, I don't think you can count him out as long as he can play Roland Garros, first of all. And he seems really driven yet to make it. I think seeing Novak back is going to, ignite the fire a little bit, but I'm more worried about his body. If the body can the body take it? The mind, for sure. Is the body wanting 1 more year, 2 more years, 3 more years? I don't know. That foot injury seems a bit nasty. We'll have to see. It's so tough to say. I mean, hardcore for sure. It's going to be tougher for him to come back from an injury on that surface. But he seems extremely motivated to do it. And when Rafa puts his mind into something, you can count him out. But for sure, I mean, if you look at Novak, Roger, and Rafa, for sure, Novak is in a better position to make it. And Rafa has to fight not only Novak, but the new generation coming. It's tough to see, but I can't count him out on anything because he's proven years and after years that he's able of everything.
Yeah, is this premature, Marion Bartoli, for people to wonder whether or not Rafa can be counted out to get to 21? Is it premature?
He gave a very interesting, I think, interview and quote at Washington saying that the foot was bothering him since 2005. So it's not something that is recent. It's obviously a very long-term injury. It's just at some point he just feels it more than others days. And probably now as he's getting older and obviously all his body has to go through since all those years is probably more... the pain is just there more often than usual and than before probably. I remember seeing him after the Novak's match in Roland Garros. He just literally couldn't walk anymore. So that was very serious and that was the reason why he pulled out of Wimbledon in the Olympics. Now, of course, to go and compete on the hard court where it's just so brutal, so hot, so demanding on the body and trying to go and win the US Open, that's just such a difficult task. But if he can recover this year, somehow get through another Roland Garros, of course you can count him as a favorite to go and win Roland Garros next year for sure, 100%, because just the clay is a little bit more easy on his body. But, I've learned over the years that Rafa and obviously Roger and Novak has resources that none of the human bodies, all of us have. And they can find it inside themselves and they can find extra solution. They can find extra motivation to just achieve what they want to achieve. And I think probably for Rafa, he wants to win one more Roland Garros at least, probably get to 14, maybe to 15. And he's going to try everything he can to achieve that. But
Marion, you would know about the tolerance of pain when you're a professional tennis player. You're used to go past the barrier of pain. What is the last signal that this is maybe the last barrier? I shouldn't go further. Is there a moment when you can feel that your body is like, nope, if you do that, I'm going to break down?
Yeah, the limit sign is when you start to feel at on the practice court without the tension of the match and the stress of the match, you still can't bear the pain. This is where that's it, that you have enough. And for me, that was the case for my shoulder. I just couldn't do it anymore, even in practice. After 45 minutes, that was my limit. After that, I literally couldn't lift my arm. And I think for Rafa, if he feels even on the practice court after 1 hour, he just literally can't walk anymore and can't run on the tennis ball, that would be the signal to say that's it. But only him knows how bad it is. If it's something he can manage and something that can still take him to next year Roland Garros, I think you still have to give him a shot because he took an awful, extraordinary performance from Novak to beat him this year, and he was still so close. So you have to put him as a favorite if he can stand until next year.
It's sort of human nature to try and second guess when people are going to be finished or whether they're done, but I mean it is premature. Of course it is. We're talking about a supreme champion here, somebody who's already won 20 Grand Slam titles, who has bounced back from numerous injuries over the years to win more, I think the foot injury, I'm guessing it's the same one, if, as Marion was saying, in 2005, the one he thought might end his career back then. But he found a way to manage it. And I thought, listening to what he said in Washington, there was more encouragement than discouragement. He thinks that he's going to be okay. It was feeling better in the second match, even though he lost. He got 5-6 sets of good tennis in. He's going to go to play in Canada. He will play Cincinnati if all being well. And I think motivation is the key here. I thought it was fascinating to see Nadal putting out a little video of himself practicing while Novak was struggling at the Olympics. Here's Rafa. Ooh, look, here's Rafa back to try and win the US Open. And when you think about the US Open and Nadal over the years, Nadal has become more at home in New York as a surface than he is in Australia or any other hard court. It seems to fit his game better. He really, really enjoys playing there. So I agree. I think if he's fit, if the foot is no problem, then he is going to be a big, big danger. A lot is going to depend on the draw. I was thinking with Novak, if Novak gets a Nick Kyrgios, say, second round, or and he's in Zverev's half as well, or the Tsitsipas is lurking. If it all mounts up, it can be very difficult. So the same thing for Nadal. If he gets a draw that looks more favourable, I think he'll be able to work himself into the kind of form that it takes to win a US Open, and he knows how to do it.
Remember what Novak said after winning Wimbledon when he was asked about joining the 20 club, and he said it means that none of us is going to quit. I mean, I wonder what is it going to play at some point. Nobody of those three wants to drop first. Like, they don't want to leave the ground to the other two. So I wonder if they think about it sometimes.
You know who's won more Grand Slam titles than Roger, Rafa, and Novak combined, don't you? More than all three combined? Father Time. Father Time remains undefeated. In the end, Father Time compiles as many Grand Slams or Mother Time decides, because time ultimately remains undefeated. Let's then continue with Roger Federer, who did fail in his quest to win Wimbledon once again, and also, according to our producers, become what they call the, quote, old Federer, and well below his best when he bowed 6-0 bagel by Hubert Hurkacz in the quarterfinals. We will not see him on the tour before the U.S. Open, and we're not even sure he will, in fact, play in New York. Question, panel. What can Roger Federer hope for the rest of his career now that he's 40 and he still has these ongoing issues with his right knee? What can he hope for the rest of his career moving forward here? Let's begin with you, Simon Cambers.
I guess he's hoping, and we can hope, that he gets the chance to end his career the way he wants to end it. That's the big deal for any big sportsman or woman, isn't it? To go out the way you want to on a high, or at least without injury taking it away from you. So I don't think we're going to see Roger quit without having a shot at doing it again, if it's at all possible. I mean, Wimbledon remains his best shot. He still got to the quarterfinals with his knee not feeling 100%. You could see that his movement was not quite as dynamic as it usually is. And yes, of course, we're recording this on his 40th birthday, which is remarkable. And the thing is, he's 40 years old, so there are obviously chances that he may not have too many shots left. The US Open is a tough one for him because he hasn't won there since 2008. He's had a lot of rough luck over the years, come very close, of course. I'm not sure whether we'll see him there or not. Maybe he'll just take a break and get ready for Australia and try and give it one more crack next year fully fit. But I don't think, with him, I just think that what he needs is to go out the way he wants to and have another shot at a Wimbledon, at least, feeling 100%.
What should we believe? What should we expect for the rest of his career to be? Carole, what are your expectations, your belief, whether you want it to be the case or not? What do you believe will become now of Roger Federer? Let's change it to that.
Well, the thing is, it all depends on the knee, right? I mean, if the knee can't get better, it's going to be extremely complicated because Roger has always had a light schedule the past decade. Issue is that now he needs to practice and he needs to play lots of matches before those big tournaments because he needs to get into shape. But can he get through the load? But what I believe is that he's going to try to get another shot at Wimbledon because he can't finish on a 6-love. You're Roger Federer. You don't end your career on a bagel in Wimbledon. It's not happening. He can't sleep at night through this. Mirka is pushing him. You go back. There's no way. So I believe he's going to try to play one more Wimbledon, but that means he needs to play Australia. He needs to try to play some clay. He needs to get in shape. So I believe he's going to try. I think we can't expect anything else than he's going to try. Will he succeed? I wasn't that worried before Wimbledon because I felt he was playing quite good in Paris, and then I saw him on grass and the movement, and I was like, it's not going as planned. He got better at some point in the tournament. I think he had a relapse that was visible against Urkash. So I think the knee. He said something really interesting. He said at some point, I went through 20 minutes of good tennis. I was like, oh wow, I can still make it. That means doubt is here. Can I do it again? So, and when you're that kind of a champion and you start doubting you can play 30 minutes at your best level, it's not a good sign. But I believe he's going to try. I mean, he's the biggest. 40 years old, and we're still asking him to play one more Wimbledon. He's one of the biggest champions, all sports considered. He's going to try. So I believe we'll see him in London next year. I just hope the knee is going to stay quiet a little.
Well, I've learned over the years that with Roger, I remember doing this on-court interview this year of him in Roland Garros on this empty stadium when he played at night. And I've done the on-court interview and I talked to him, and if you would have told me right after the interview when I left the court that he will walk over for the next match and he will not come on court, I would have told you you're crazy. And I've learned something about Roger is it's impossible to read his mind. Impossible. You can, listen to all the press conference, read his article or whatever. You can think about something and then the opposite would happen. I think only him knows what he really wants and how he wants to end his career. I believe he wants to end on a high and on something that makes him happy. Maybe playing in Basel in his hometown tournament when he used to ball boy there, and he has so much memories and something that reminds his childhood and is part of his history. Would it be Basel this year? Would it be Basel next year? That is a question mark. But I think he wants to end his career on something that makes him feel happy. And I think this is the most important thing for him now.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think Basel has been cancelled for this year, and had that not been the case, I think there would have been a pretty good chance that Roger might have decided to retire there, as Marion was mentioning. But I think because it's been cancelled, that's another reason that Roger might think, I'll go to Wimbledon, I'll see what I can do.
So the tennis gods, you believe, the tennis gods, you believe, are trying to give every opportunity for this to continue. Follow on all social media platforms, please, and interact. Make sure you read all the content as well. On behalf of the panel, saying thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time for more Match Points right here on tennismajors.com.